Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we drift back to the sands of time, into the mysterious nights of ancient Egypt. Imagine the soft desert winds, the glow of oil lamps inside temples, and the sacred whispers of priests performing forgotten rituals under the stars. In this calming sleep story, we explore the nightly life of pharaohs, priests, and ordinary villagers as they prepared for rest, prayed to the gods, and honored the eternal cycle of night and day. This gentle historical story is designed to help you relax, ease your mind, and fall into a deep, peaceful sleep. Whether you're fascinated by ancient Egypt or simply seeking soothing storytelling, this journey will carry you across the Nile and into dreams. If you enjoy this story, please like the video, subscribe for more calming history tales, and let us know in the comments where in the world you're listening from. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the Nile River, the desert stretching endlessly behind you, the water glistening faintly under the silver moon. It is night in ancient Egypt, a night that feels older than time itself. The air is cooler now, a gentle wind brushing against the reeds, carrying with it the faint scent of oil lamps from the villages nearby. Slowly, the great noise of the day fades, and a softer world awakens, a world of secrets, rituals, and whispers. For the people of Egypt, night was not only the time for rest, but a sacred journey. They believed that as the sun, god Ra, sailed across the underworld in his great bark, humans, too, entered a small underworld of their own when they closed their eyes. Sleep was not ordinary, it was divine, and every dream was a bridge between the mortal world and the gods. That is why the Egyptians treated the coming of night with care and with reverence. Picture a small mud brick house along the river, its walls painted white to reflect the heat of the day. Inside, a family gathers before bed. The mother lights a small clay lamp filled with oil, its flame flickering gently, casting soft shadows along the walls. She whispers a short prayer to Hathor, the goddess of love and protection, asking her to keep the children safe in their dreams. The father sprinkles a pinch of natron salt at the threshold, believing it will keep away wandering spirits of the night. Even the children are taught that before they sleep, they must place their heads facing north, toward the eternal stars, so that their souls can travel safely. In the great temples, the rituals are even more elaborate. Priests in long linen robes wash their hands and faces in cool water drawn from the Nile. They light incense made of frankincense and myrrh, filling the air with a soothing fragrance that drifts upward like a silent prayer. Their chants are deep and rhythmic, a sound that echoes against stone walls and rises into the night sky. They believe that these chants guide the sun god Ra through his dangerous journey beneath the earth, so that he may rise again with the dawn. Without these night rituals, the world itself might be thrown into chaos. But not all rituals belong to priests and pharaohs. In the quiet villages, ordinary Egyptians had their own traditions. Farmers, after a long day in the fields, would wash their feet in the Nile before bed, believing that the water cleansed not only the body, but also the spirit. Women sometimes placed lotus flowers by their bedsides, for the lotus was a symbol of rebirth, reminding them that tomorrow's sunrise would bring new beginnings. The very act of lying down to sleep was, for them, a small imitation of death, and waking was a joyful rebirth. There is a lesson here for us, dear listener. The Egyptians knew that night was not an interruption of life, but part of its rhythm. To them, sleep was not wasted time, but a sacred bridge, a place where one could be renewed. Perhaps in our own lives, when we go to bed at the end of a busy day, we too can remember that sleep is a gift. a quiet return to balance, a time for the soul to wander and heal. So now, as you let this story drift over you, imagine the oil lamps of ancient Egypt glowing in the dark, their flames steady and calm. Imagine the priests chanting softly in distant temples, their voices blending with the desert wind. And imagine the people of the Nile closing their eyes with trust, believing that the gods themselves would guard their dreams until the morning light returned. And so, dear listener, as the people of the Nile closed their eyes in quiet trust, the night deepened, and the desert revealed its secrets. Above, the stars shone with a brilliance that modern skies rarely hold, a blanket of silver dust stretched across eternity. To the Egyptians, these stars were not just lights, they were guardians. Each constellation was tied to a god or a story, and by watching the heavens, they believed they could see reflections of the divine order itself. In the temples of Thebes, Luxor, and Memphis, the night was never silent. Even as villagers slept, priests carried out secret rituals deep inside sacred chambers. Oil lamps flickered against walls covered in painted hieroglyphs, their golden light dancing over images of Ra, Osiris, and Isis. The priests believed that their words held power, not only for the people but for the entire cosmos. They recited long prayers in tones that rose and fell like waves. Each sound meant to strengthen Ra's journey through the underworld. Imagine this, dear listener. In the middle of the night, when the world outside is hushed, a procession of priests walks barefoot across cool stone floors. They carry offerings of bread, beer, honey, and milk, not for themselves, but for the unseen gods who guide the night. They leave these offerings in front of statues wrapped in linen and perfumed with incense, believing that while the body of the god is stone, the spirit within can taste, can breathe, can listen. Meanwhile, outside the temple walls, the Nile glimmers under the moon. Fishermen sit quietly on their boats, nets folded, waiting for dawn. Yet even they whisper small prayers to Hapi, the god of the river, thanking him for his endless gift of life. A gentle silence spreads across the land, broken only by the sound of water lapping softly against the shore. For them, the night was a time to pause, to feel gratitude, and to renew their bond with the sacred river. There is a teaching here, one we can carry into our own restless nights. The Egyptians understood the value of gratitude. Before they surrendered to sleep, they gave thanks to the river, to the gods, to the stars. Perhaps we too, before closing our eyes, can whisper a small word of thanks. It might be for the breath we still hold, for the roof over our head, or for the people we love. Gratitude, like those ancient prayers, can turn ordinary rest into something sacred. As the hours pass, the desert grows colder. Sand shifts quietly in the breeze, and the great pyramids stand in shadow, their tips glowing faintly under starlight. Even the pharaoh, in his grand palace, does not escape the rituals of the night. Servants bring him scented oils, washing his hands and feet, anointing his skin so that he may sleep as a king should. Clean, calm, and guarded, he lies upon a bed of carved wood, beneath fine linen sheets, while beside him, protective amulets are placed to ward off evil dreams. To sleep without protection, they believed, was to invite danger, for the night was as powerful as it was beautiful. And so, dear listener, the night deepens, the chants echo within the temples, the families rest in their humble homes, and the pharaoh himself dreams under divine guardianship. All across Egypt, from the smallest hut to the grandest palace, The land breathes as one, a nation asleep, held gently in the hands of gods and stars. As the land of Egypt rests under the vast starry sky, another rhythm unfolds, quieter but no less important. For even in a nation lulled into sacred sleep, the night requires guardians. Along the high walls of temples and palaces, watchmen take their posts, torches glowing faintly in the cool breeze. Their eyes scan the shadows, their ears tuned to every rustle. For though the people trusted in the gods, they also trusted in the vigilance of mortal protectors. These night guards were not mere soldiers, but men chosen for their discipline and faith. They believed that standing watch was itself a ritual, a sacred duty in which their presence formed a barrier between order and chaos. Each guard carried a small amulet of the god Anubis, protector of souls, believing that the jackal-headed deity would guide their senses in the darkness. Before beginning their shift, they would whisper a short invocation, asking for sharp eyes and steady courage. Thus, even the act of guarding became a prayer. The streets of Egyptian towns at night were often silent, yet not entirely empty. Traders arriving late with caravans might stop at roadside inns, offering grain, figs, or cloth as payment for a place to rest. At these inns, lanterns burned softly, and the keepers often placed bowls of milk or bread outside, not only for travelers, but also for the wandering spirits believed to roam after sunset. To ignore the unseen guests, people thought, was to invite misfortune. In this way, hospitality was not only for humans, but extended to the invisible world as well. Imagine now, dear listener, the quiet rhythm of a village as midnight approaches. Dogs curl beside their masters, donkeys rest in stables, and fishermen dream on their reed mats. Yet, from time to time, the faint sound of a reed flute drifts through the night. Music, played softly, was another form of ritual. Families believed that gentle melodies could soothe restless spirits and invite peaceful dreams. A father might play the flute while his children drifted into sleep, the notes mingling with the cool desert wind, carrying comfort through the silence. What wisdom hides here for us? Perhaps it is the understanding that peace does not come only from stillness, but also from watchfulness and care. The Egyptians knew that to create harmony in the night, both protection and tenderness were needed. The guards protected the city with vigilance, while parents protected their children with love and song. Even now, we too can shape our nights by preparing them with small acts, locking the doors for safety, perhaps, but also lighting a candle or reading a gentle story. Safety and serenity, side by side, create the true rest we long for. Meanwhile, in the great palaces, the pharaoh's guards patrolled the outer courts. They wore bronze weapons that glimmered under the torchlight, yet even they relied more on ritual than on steel. At certain hours, they would circle the palace 3 times, reciting words meant to ward off evil. Within the royal chambers, scribes kept watch over sacred scrolls, while attendants whispered prayers near the door. All believed that the pharaoh's sleep was bound to the balance of the cosmos. If he rested well, Egypt itself would prosper with the dawn. And still, above it all, the sky stretched infinite. Stars turned slowly in their courses, the constellations tracing stories older than memory. A priest on temple walls might lift his gaze upward, reading omens in their shifting light. To him, every star was a god's eye, every movement a message. And, as the hours slipped by, he too whispered chants, not only to guard Ra's journey through the underworld, but to guard the sleeping souls of his people. So the night flowed onward, guarded by men, by gods, and by ritual. Egypt slept, yet Egypt also watched, balancing trust with vigilance. And in this balance, there lies a teaching still alive for us today, that rest does not mean weakness, but a harmony between surrender and protection. And so, dear listener, while Egypt rested in harmony, there were places where the night never fully surrendered to silence. Deep within the stone walls of temples, in chambers hidden from ordinary eyes, priests continued their sacred labor. The stars above may have watched quietly, but within those sanctuaries, firelight flickered and voices rose, weaving threads between the mortal and the divine. The rituals of the night were not performed for spectacle. They were secret, guarded, and meant only for those who had been purified by long training. Imagine a vast hall of columns, their carved surfaces glowing faintly in the light of oil lamps. The air is heavy with incense, rich with the scents of myrrh, cinnamon, and resin, a smoke that rises toward the ceiling like whispers reaching unseen ears. In the center stands a statue of a god, wrapped in fine linen, eyes gleaming with gemstones, a presence that seems alive even in stillness. The priests approach barefoot, their garments pure white, freshly washed in the waters of the Nile. They move slowly, every step deliberate, every gesture carrying meaning. Before they speak, they pour libations of wine and milk upon the ground, believing the earth itself must first be honored. Then comes the offering of bread and honey, carefully placed upon golden trays, as if the gods would dine with them in silence. To our modern minds, it may seem symbolic, yet to the Egyptians, these acts were more than symbols. They were nourishment for the unseen, gifts of gratitude meant to keep balance in the cosmos. And then the chants begin, slow at first, low and deep, echoing against the stone. Words in a language of power, syllables shaped to mirror the movements of the stars. The priests believed that these sacred utterances strengthened Ra's passage through the underworld, shielding him from serpents of chaos and demons of shadow. Each word was like a lantern lit in darkness, a prayer carrying Egypt safely toward the dawn. Without these chants, they feared, the sun might never rise again. But what can we learn from such devotion? Perhaps it is the lesson of discipline and intention. For the Egyptians, rest was never careless, nor was worship thoughtless. They prepared every act with reverence, no matter how small. In our own lives, we may not light incense for gods or pour milk upon altars. Yet we too can approach our nights with care. A gentle routine before sleep, a moment of reflection, a whispered word of gratitude. The soft lighting of a candle can prepare our minds to rest as if rest itself were sacred. Outside the temple walls, the contrast is striking. Villages lie in slumber, children curled beside their mothers, farmers dreaming of fields heavy with grain. Yet, even here, echoes of the temple rituals reach them. The smoke of incense drifts faintly through the streets, mingling with the night air. The people believe that as long as the priests keep vigil, the gods are near, protecting not only pharaohs, but every humble home. And so, they sleep in peace, trusting that the rising sun is not only a promise of nature, but a gift sustained by prayer. The night deepens further, the desert colder, shadows stretching long across the sand. Within the pyramids themselves, chambers lie silent, yet filled with meaning. These tombs were built not only for the dead, but as eternal reminders of life's rhythm, day and night, death and rebirth, sleep and waking. To enter sleep, the Egyptians taught, was to practice the mystery of dying. To awaken was to practice the joy of rising anew. And so, as you drift with this story, dear listener, think of your own sleep not as an end, but as a passage, a sacred journey watched over by unseen guardians. The Egyptians believed that every night was a small death, and every morning a resurrection. Perhaps in this we find a comfort, that each day we are given another chance, another sunrise, another life within life. The temple lamps burned low, their glow a gentle amber that shimmered across the polished stone, and as the night deepened, the ritual moved into its most mysterious phase. A hush fell upon the courtyard as the high priest lifted his hands, signaling the crowd to quiet, and one by one, the whispers faded until only the soft rustle of desert wind could be heard. This silence, heavy and deliberate, was said to open the threshold between the mortal world and the unseen realms of the divine. At the center of the gathering, the sacred pool reflected the faint light of the moon, its surface trembling with ripples as the priests dipped branches of palm into the water. Each drop that fell back into the pool was believed to carry the prayers of the people, binding them to the eternal cycle of night and dawn. The air was heavy with incense, the smoke curling upward like soft threads of silk, drifting toward the heavens as if carrying messages to gods who lingered in the darkness above. The people remained kneeling, their heads bowed low, and in this posture they felt themselves part of something greater than any single life, a bond woven through centuries of tradition. The high priest then began a slow, rhythmic chant, his voice deep and steady, echoing off the massive stone walls. He called upon Osiris, lord of the underworld, protector of life beyond death, asking him to guide the souls of the departed safely through the shadows of night. His words flowed like the Nile itself, patient, steady, eternal. Then came the lighting of the sacred torches, flames kindled not with common fire, but with embers preserved from the previous ritual, a spark carried through generations. Young acolytes, their faces solemn, moved in a circle around the courtyard, holding the flames aloft. The flickering light cast shifting patterns on the hieroglyphs carved into the walls, making the gods appear to stir, as though the stone itself had awakened to witness the night beyond the temple. The ordinary people could only watch from afar, yet they too lit small lamps at their doorways, believing that the ritual's power would stretch across the city, protecting each household from misfortune. In the flicker of those humble flames, families gathered close, telling children the old stories of how the gods once walked beside humans, and how the balance of day and night was preserved by faithful hearts and devoted hands. Inside, the priests prepared the final act of the night's devotion. A golden figurine of the falcon-headed Horus was lifted from its shrine, polished so brightly that even the dim firelight glinted like the sun itself. The effigy was paraded in silence, carried carefully by 4 attendants who stepped in perfect rhythm, as though guided by an invisible drum. The people whispered blessings under their breath, their voices trembling with both reverence and hope. For to see the image of Horus in this secret night ritual was to feel assured that dawn would indeed return, and that chaos would be held at bay for another day. At the edge of the courtyard, the high priest poured water across the threshold, a gesture symbolizing renewal, and in that moment, the crowd exhaled as one. The ritual had reached its quiet peak, the ancient balance honored once more. The moon drifted higher in the sky, casting its pale silver upon the temple stones, and somewhere in the vastness of the desert, a jackal called into the night, its cry echoing through the silence like a reminder that beyond the ritual, the eternal sands still stretched endlessly, guarding their secrets. The people slowly rose to their feet, their hearts calmed, their minds soothed, as though the weight of their daily burdens had been lifted into the smoke of incense and carried away. And so the ritual lingered in the stillness, not yet complete, but poised upon the edge of something greater, as the final stage of the night began to take shape in the hearts of those who kept watch under the starlit sky. And so, dear listener, as the temple's shadows stretched long and silent, the final stage of the night ritual began in earnest. Within the innermost sanctum, beyond the gaze of ordinary eyes, priests moved with careful grace, each motion a deliberate echo of ancient instruction. The air was fragrant with burning myrrh and lotus oil, a scent that seemed to thicken with the stillness, wrapping around the priests as though the night itself held its breath in reverence. Here, the ritual was not for the people outside, nor for the pharaoh alone. It was for the gods themselves. The priests whispered prayers so soft they seemed to merge with the gentle flicker of lamp flames. Their hands traced the symbols of life, protection, and balance across polished altars, each stroke a deliberate offering of devotion. The sound of the Nile, distant yet constant, flowed through the temple like a companion, reminding them that even in this hidden chamber, they were part of the great rhythm of life. In a corner, an apprentice carefully arranged offerings, small vessels of wine, honey cakes, and tiny bowls of incense ash. Every placement had meaning, and every misstep could disturb the harmony of the ritual. The older priests watched closely, guiding with gentle hands, their eyes reflecting both discipline and deep faith. Here lay the lesson: attention to detail and respect for every act transforms even the simplest gesture into something sacred. The chanting began again, slow and deliberate, voices weaving into a single thread of sound that rose and fell like a soft river over stones. Each syllable carried intention, each pause a space for reflection. These chants were believed to guide the soul of Ra as he journeyed through the underworld. But they also served another purpose: to guide the hearts of all who witnessed the night, instilling calm, order, and reverence for the unseen forces of the world. Outside the sanctum, the guards patrolled the temple corridors with quiet vigilance. Even their footsteps were measured, blending with the rhythm of the night. They carried small amulets of protective deities, believing that their faith combined with the ritual power ensured the safety of the sleeping city beyond the temple walls. And indeed, every household, from the grandest palace to the simplest hut, felt this invisible shield as they slept, reassured by the devotion of those who watched over the night. Imagine, dear listener, the pharaoh himself in his private chamber. Soft linen sheets covered his form, and scented oils prepared him for sleep. Amulets of gold and faience lay near his pillow, each chosen carefully to guard his dreams and honor the balance between life and death. Even in rest, he was connected to the eternal cycle, a small reflection of the sun, God's journey through night and light. The Egyptians believed that the fate of the land was intertwined with the pharaoh's peace of mind, and so these preparations were both practical and sacred. As hours passed, the priests concluded the final blessings. They moved quietly back through the temple, extinguishing lamps one by one, leaving the inner sanctum in gentle darkness. Yet the night continued to hum with life. The desert wind, the whisper of the river, the distant cry of an owl, all part of the same eternal rhythm. Sleep, they knew, was not a cessation of existence, but a continuation of it in a softer, quieter form. And so, dear listener, as you imagine the silent temple, the careful movements of the priests, the steady gaze of the guards, and the serene rest of the pharaoh. Let yourself be carried along by this rhythm. Let the quiet devotion and careful preparation guide your own mind into calm, where the worries of the day drift away like smoke, leaving only the soft, gentle embrace of night. In this, there is a lesson timeless and true, that respect, care, and mindfulness, even in the smallest actions, create harmony both in life and in rest. As the temple fell into deeper shadow, the air grew thick with the quiet pulse of the night. Even the stars seemed to bend closer, attentive to the sacred rhythm within the stone walls. The priests moved silently, their sandals barely whispering across the cool floors, as though the very ground was aware of their presence. Each gesture, each offering, each prayer was a bridge connecting mortal hearts with the eternal gaze of the gods. Inside the inner sanctum, statues of Osiris, Isis, and Horus lay in stillness, bathed in the flickering glow of oil lamps. Though they appeared motionless, the priests believed the divine presence breathed within them, listening to every whisper, every heartfelt devotion. The ritual demanded patience, attention, and humility, and the priests understood that even the smallest act, done with intention, could ripple across the world of gods and men alike. A young apprentice knelt at the foot of a statue, holding a bowl of sacred water, watching as the high priest murmured incantations. Drops of water fell slowly onto the altar, each carrying a prayer for protection, prosperity, and renewal. The sound was soft, almost musical, blending with the distant lapping of the Nile and the gentle rustle of reeds outside the temple walls. In this quiet, the apprentice felt a calmness seep into his heart, a realization that stillness could be its own kind of power, a way to honor life and prepare for the morning to come. Beyond the temple, the city lay draped in peaceful darkness. Families huddled together beneath woven mats and linen sheets, children breathing softly in their sleep. The villagers believed that these sacred nocturnal chants carried through the air, wrapping their homes in invisible threads of protection. Even the desert wind seemed to bend with reverence, sweeping gently across the rooftops, reminding all that the night was a living, breathing presence, full of secrets, guardians, and unseen watchers. The lesson here, dear listener, is subtle yet profound. In a world that often hurries and shouts, the Egyptians taught that surrender to the night, combined with mindful devotion, brought balance and renewal. When we prepare for sleep with intention, when we acknowledge the small blessings of the day, we too create a bridge from wakefulness to rest, from tension to calm. Each ritual, however small, echoes this truth. Mindfulness turns ordinary moments into sacred acts. Meanwhile, in the far corners of the temple, a soft chanting continued, slow and rhythmic. Voices rose and fell in unison, harmonizing with the flicker of torchlight and the distant cries of night birds. Even the faintest observer would feel a sense of serenity, as though the world had been momentarily suspended in a gentle, protective cocoon. The Egyptians believed that such chants soothed not only the gods, but the hearts of all who slept, guiding dreams toward safety, away from fear and into visions of hope. And as you, dear listener, imagine this tranquil scene, let the rhythm of the temple, the soft light, and the whispers of devotion guide your own mind into gentle rest. Picture yourself floating along the Nile, beneath the vast starlit sky, where even the smallest gesture of faith carries weight and meaning. With each breath, let the calm of the night wash over you, and let your thoughts drift slowly, gently, like smoke rising from a sacred lamp, until sleep finds you quietly, deeply, as if carried on the desert wind itself. And so, dear listener, deep within the temple, where the walls seemed to hum with the quiet presence of the gods, the night reached its most secret hour. The statues of Osiris and Horus stood silent yet alive in the flickering torchlight, guardians of the sacred mysteries that unfolded only while the world slept. The priests moved carefully among them, hands raised, voices soft, performing rituals designed not only to honor the divine but to protect the sleeping souls of all Egypt. At the temple gates, the night guards remained vigilant, their eyes scanning shadows, their footsteps measured and precise. They believed that every whisper, every rustle could be a message from the unseen, and so they kept both attention and patience in perfect balance. Each guard wore an amulet of protection, a small charm etched with symbols of strength, guidance, and faith. Their vigilance, though quiet, was considered a vital part of the sacred rhythm. It ensured that the rituals inside could unfold without interruption, and that the night itself remained in order. Inside, the high priest moved with deliberate grace, sprinkling water and offering incense to the statues. He whispered blessings meant to strengthen the god's presence, but also to extend to the common people sleeping in distant homes. The Egyptians believed that the same energy that nourished the divine also nurtured humanity, connecting each act of devotion to the health, peace, and prosperity of the land. Even a single attentive gesture could ripple outward, touching lives unseen, shaping the world in ways subtle but powerful. Young apprentices observed quietly, absorbing the weight of responsibility and the grace of ritual. Every careful movement, every chant repeated with reverence, was a lesson that mindfulness, patience, and attention could transform ordinary actions into sacred contributions. These lessons, though ancient, are still true for us. In our own lives, the care we bring to small tasks, the thoughtfulness in our daily deeds, creates a harmony that ripples far beyond what we perceive. Beyond the inner sanctum, the temple corridors stretched silent and cool. The soft glow of torches reflected off polished stone, creating gentle shadows that danced in rhythm with the night wind. Here, even the smallest sound, the rustle of a robe, the quiet exhale of breath, the distant echo of a bird, became part of the living tapestry of vigilance and devotion. The Egyptians understood that balance required both calm and alertness. One without the other would disturb the order of life and night. Outside the temple, the city slept in gentle harmony. Families rested beneath linen sheets, while farmers dreamed of the fields they would tend tomorrow. Children nestled close to their parents, lulled by the quiet knowledge that unseen guardians, human and divine, were watching over them. The night was not empty or silent. It was full of protection, rhythm, and careful attention. And in this environment, even sleep became a sacred act, a reflection of the balance between responsibility and surrender. And so, dear listener, let yourself imagine this scene. The flickering lamps, the silent guards, the meticulous rituals, and the serene rest of all who dwell in the city. Feel how care, mindfulness, and devotion shape the night, and allow this knowledge to seep into your own being. Let it remind you that even in your own life, attention, patience, and thoughtful action create harmony, turning ordinary moments into quiet, sacred experiences. And with this understanding, let your own breath slow, your heart soften, and your mind drift gently as sleep draws near, guided by the invisible guardians of calm and order. As the night deepened further, the temple seemed to breathe in unison with the world outside. The statues of gods remained silent, yet the priests believed they were awake, sensing every heartbeat, every whisper of devotion. In this sacred stillness, rituals unfolded not just to honor the gods, but to safeguard dreams themselves. For the Egyptians believed that sleep was a journey, a fragile passage between the living and the divine. Within the inner sanctum, the high priest sprinkled sacred oils across the altar, a gesture that symbolized purification of both body and spirit. With each movement, he whispered chants that were thought to guide the dreams of the pharaoh, the priests, and even the common people. These were not ordinary prayers. They were intentions infused with the understanding that dreams carried messages, warnings, and blessings from the unseen realms. A well-guarded dream could inspire courage, heal sorrow, and illuminate the path for those awake during the coming day. Apprentices knelt nearby, holding bowls of water mixed with lotus petals. The petals were delicate, fragrant, and luminous under the torchlight. Each drop that fell upon the altar represented protection for the dreamers of Egypt, a spiritual shield woven into the fabric of the night. The young ones watched carefully, learning that mindfulness, consistency, and sincerity were as vital as the grandest gestures. In this lesson lay a truth timeless and universal, that small, intentional acts hold power beyond our sight, quietly shaping the world around us. Outside the temple, the city remained cloaked in sleep. Families rested beneath linen sheets, the soft breathing of children mingling with the hum of the Nile. Fishermen in distant villages dreamed of the river, envisioning it swelling with fish and nourishing the lands. Farmers envisioned bountiful fields and healthy livestock. The Egyptians believed that these dreams were nourished by the careful nocturnal offerings, the chants, and the prayers whispered in the temples. The night was alive, a silent guardian guiding both slumber and the unfolding of destiny. Even the pharaoh, in his private chamber, relied on these rituals. Golden amulets were laid near his pillow. Scented oils anointed his hands and feet, and protective symbols were drawn upon his bedding. All of this, dear listener, was intended to ensure that his sleep was not only safe, but meaningful. For the Egyptians, a dream was a bridge, a conduit to wisdom, foresight, and guidance from the divine. To sleep without such preparation was to risk confusion, unrest, or misfortune. And so every precaution was meticulously observed. And so the night progressed in harmony. Prayers, vigilance, and devotion blending with the rhythm of the stars, the whisper of the wind, and the gentle lap of the Nile. The temples became a living orchestra, each movement and sound a note in a symphony dedicated to life, protection, and spiritual alignment. The guards, the priests, and the people all participated, whether actively or unknowingly, in sustaining this sacred balance. And now, dear listener, as you imagine these quiet scenes, let yourself feel the same serenity flowing through your own being. Let the knowledge that the night is watched, that dreams are nurtured, and that care exists even in the unseen, guide your mind gently toward rest. With each breath, drift further into calm, allowing your thoughts to soften and your body to settle, as if you too are being guided along the gentle currents of the Nile beneath the moonlit sky, carried safely into the world of dreams. As the night moved past its midpoint, the temple became a place of profound quiet, yet alive with invisible energy. The statues of Osiris, Isis, and Horus seemed to glow under the torchlight, their features softened in the flicker, as if the gods themselves were listening to every heartbeat, every whispered prayer. The priests moved among them with reverent care, their gestures slow and deliberate, each step a rhythm echoing the eternal dance of night and day. In the inner sanctum, the high priest carried a small bowl of lotus-infused water, circling the altar 3 times before sprinkling the drops with the utmost precision. Each drop was a prayer, a shield for the sleeping souls of the city, a message to unseen watchers that the world remained balanced and safe. Apprentices observed closely, learning that ritual was more than action. It was intention, a lesson that could guide not only the night but the life of every person who participated in it, whether directly or indirectly. Beyond the walls of the temple, the city lay in peaceful slumber. Families huddled close beneath linen sheets, the soft breathing of children blending with the gentle murmur of the Nile. Even the wind seemed to move with reverence, carrying faint scents of incense and lotus through narrow alleys, brushing against rooftops, and soothing the minds of those who slept. To the Egyptians, the night was alive, a guardian of dreams, a protector of hope, and a silent teacher of balance and mindfulness. The pharaoh's chamber was prepared with the utmost care. Golden amulets rested near his pillow, protective symbols drawn with oils, and soft linens scented with myrrh and lotus. Every precaution ensured that his sleep would be uninterrupted, guided by divine oversight. To sleep, they believed, was a sacred act, a bridge between the temporal world and the eternal. Dreams were not random. They were reflections of the gods' guidance, moments of insight, and whispers of foresight. And through careful rituals, these dreams were preserved and protected, both for the pharaoh and for all of Egypt. The night guards, silent and watchful, moved through the corridors with measured steps. Each glance and gesture was part of a larger rhythm, a living orchestration of vigilance and devotion. Even the smallest sound, a shifting robe, a soft exhale, became part of the sacred pattern, reinforcing harmony between protection and trust. Their watch was not mere duty, it was an offering, a lesson that even unseen acts of care shape the world in meaningful ways. And so, dear listener, as you imagine these scenes, the flickering torchlight, the silent vigilance, the gentle rhythm of the Nile, let yourself carry the same calm into your own being. The Egyptians teach us that attention, care, and intention transform ordinary acts into sacred moments. Let the knowledge that you are surrounded by quiet guardians, that your thoughts can be guided with care, and that rest itself is a sacred journey, ease your mind. Allow yourself now to drift slowly, as if floating along the gentle waters of the Nile beneath the moonlit sky. With each breath, feel the weight of the day lift, your body soften, and your mind settle. Let the rhythm of intention, vigilance, and devotion guide you, carrying you safely into sleep, where dreams may unfold with the same serenity and protection that enveloped the people of ancient Egypt for centuries. As the night drifted toward its final hours, the temple became an even quieter sanctuary. The flickering torches cast elongated shadows along the stone walls, turning hieroglyphs into moving stories, alive with the presence of gods and ancestors alike. Every movement, every gesture of the priests carried weight, for in these hours the line between mortal and divine felt thin, delicate, and sacred. The high priest moved to the central altar, a golden statue of Horus before him, and sprinkled water mixed with lotus petals around its base. Each drop was a prayer for vigilance, a shield to guard dreams against the chaos of night. Apprentices knelt silently, their eyes wide, observing how the rhythm of action and intention could transform a simple offering into a profound act of protection. This, dear listener, is a lesson for all. Care, given with focus and devotion, carries far beyond the immediate moment. Outside, the city slept under a silver moon. Families nestled in their homes, the gentle rise and fall of breath blending into the distant whispers of the desert. Farmers dreamed of fertile fields, children of bright days filled with play, and mothers of calm mornings to come. The Egyptians believed that these dreams were nurtured by the sacred acts unfolding in the temple, and that a protected sleep ensured clarity, wisdom, and strength for the coming day. Even the pharaoh, resting in his chamber, was not alone. Golden amulets, soft linens scented with myrrh, and protective oils surrounded him, forming an invisible shield of devotion and vigilance. Every precaution ensured that his dreams remained guided and undisturbed. Sleep, in this understanding, was more than rest. It was a sacred passage, a journey where intention and protection intertwined to maintain balance in life and the universe. The night guards continued their silent patrols, steps measured and eyes attentive. Each subtle sound, the rustle of fabric, the faint exhale of a priest, the distant echo of a bird, was absorbed into the rhythm of the night, reinforcing a pattern of harmony and vigilance. Their dedication demonstrated that even acts unseen hold meaning, that responsibility paired with mindfulness creates safety and serenity not only for oneself but for all within reach. And so, dear listener, as you picture these scenes, the gentle torchlight, the careful movements of priests, the watchful guards, and the serene slumber of the city, let yourself be guided into a similar calm. Imagine your own mind and body resting as intentionally, each breath a sacred gesture, each exhale a release of tension. Allow the rhythm of protection, devotion, and mindfulness to carry you deeper into sleep, where dreams flow with clarity and peace, and your spirit is wrapped in the quiet guardianship of night. The night approached its final hours. The temple seemed to breathe as one with the world outside. The air was cool and fragrant, carrying the faint scent of incense, lotus, and myrrh through the corridors. Shadows danced upon carved stone walls, bringing the hieroglyphs to life, and the flickering torchlight seemed to illuminate not just the space but the very rhythm of devotion itself. The high priest moved slowly to the inner altar, holding a small vessel of water infused with sacred oils. Each motion was deliberate, every drop a prayer, a shield for the dreams of the city, the pharaoh, and all who slept beneath the vast Egyptian sky. Apprentices observed quietly, learning that rituals were not merely actions, but lessons in intention, patience, and mindfulness. Even the simplest gesture, when performed with care, could influence the unseen currents of life and spirit. Outside the sanctum, the city remained in peaceful slumber. Families rested beneath linen sheets, the soft rise and fall of breath blending with the distant whisper of the Nile and the faint hum of desert winds. Children dreamed of playful days, farmers of fertile fields, and mothers of tranquil mornings. The Egyptians believed that these dreams were nurtured by the night's careful prayers, that sleep itself was protected and guided by devotion performed far from the eyes of ordinary people. Within the pharaoh's chamber, golden amulets lay near his pillow, and soft oils scented with myrrh and lotus anointed his hands and feet. Every precaution ensured his dreams were safe, for sleep was considered sacred, a bridge between the temporal world and the eternal. In dreams, the pharaoh could receive guidance, insight, and wisdom, and through his rested mind, the land itself could flourish. The Egyptians understood that the care given to sleep and dreams extended far beyond the individual, touching the life of the kingdom itself. The night guards continued their watch with quiet diligence. Their measured steps and attentive eyes maintained the rhythm of protection, ensuring that the temple's sacred energy remained undisturbed. Every rustle, every faint sound was absorbed into the harmony of the night, reinforcing the lesson that even unseen acts of vigilance have profound effects. The balance between stillness and awareness, devotion and duty, created an environment in which the divine could move freely and the human heart could rest fully. And so, dear listener, as you imagine these scenes, the flickering torchlight, the solemn movements of priests, the steady watch of guards, and the peaceful slumber of the city, let yourself carry this serenity into your own being. With each breath, release tension and embrace calm. Let the knowledge of protection, mindfulness, and intention guide you into rest, allowing your dreams to unfold with clarity, safety, and peace. Here lies a timeless lesson from the Egyptians. Care, devotion, and attention, even in the quietest moments, create harmony that touches every corner of life. The night deepened into its final stretch. The temple became a sanctuary of whispered prayers and gentle movement. The flickering torchlight cast elongated shadows on the stone walls, bringing the hieroglyphs to life. In these sacred hours, every gesture, every word, and every breath mattered, for the balance between the mortal and divine was said to be most delicate just before the first light of dawn. The high priest moved with careful deliberation, sprinkling water infused with lotus petals across the altar. Each drop was a prayer, a shield, and a conduit of protection for the city and its people. Apprentices observed closely, understanding that ritual was not merely action but intention. The Egyptians believed that even the smallest act, performed with attention and reverence, could influence the unseen threads that connect the mortal world to the divine. Outside, the city remained in tranquil sleep. Families lay beneath soft linen sheets, the gentle rise and fall of breath blending with the distant murmur of the Nile. Farmers dreamed of fertile fields, children of playful mornings, and mothers of calm days to come. Each dream was nurtured by the rituals performed in the temple, guided by the prayers of priests, and protected by the watchful eyes of the night guards. In this harmony, the Egyptians found not only security, but a profound sense of connection between human life and divine will. The pharaoh, resting in his chamber, was surrounded by symbols of protection: golden amulets, sacred oils, and soft linens scented with myrrh and lotus. These careful preparations ensured that his sleep was peaceful and his dreams guided. Sleep, the Egyptians taught, was a sacred journey, a bridge between the temporal and the eternal. Dreams carried messages, warnings, and blessings, and through them, wisdom flowed not only to the pharaoh, but to the people whose lives depended on his guidance. The night guards moved silently through the temple corridors, their steps measured, their eyes alert. Every faint sound, the rustle of a robe, the soft exhale of breath, or the distant cry of a desert owl, was absorbed into the rhythm of the night, reinforcing balance and protection. Vigilance and mindfulness combined to create an environment where the divine could move freely and the human heart could rest securely. Even the quietest actions held significance, a reminder that responsibility and care ripple outward in ways both visible and unseen. And so, dear listener, as you picture these final hours of the night, the flickering lamps, the solemn rituals, the watchful guards, and the peaceful slumber of the city, allow yourself to feel the same calm settling into your own being. With each breath, release the burdens of the day and embrace the serenity of intention and devotion. Let the rhythm of protection, mindfulness, and care guide you gently into rest, where dreams unfold safely and your spirit floats freely, wrapped in the quiet guardianship of night. The candle burns low, its flame dances softly, casting golden ripples upon the wall. A hush has settled over the chamber, yet the story drifts onward, like a stream beneath the quiet moon. The night grows deeper, shadows stretch longer, but the gentle tasks of the household continue in rhythm, each one flowing into the next, like verses in an endless hymn. The old wooden staircase creaks. Under the measured tread of feet, a servant descends to stoke the embers, for the kitchen fire must not die. Even in these still hours, its glow is the heart of the home, its warmth a shield against the cold night air. In the scullery, pots and pans glimmer faintly, washed and stacked neatly. Their silence holds the memory of clatter, a day's labor now at rest. Yet tomorrow they will sing again, with clangs, with steam, with bubbling broths and hearty bread. Above, in the grand chambers, dreams unfold quietly. The master and mistress sleep, yet in their slumber they carry stories, echoes of the day's triumphs, and worries of what dawn may bring. The house itself seems to cradle them, its beams and stones whispering lullabies. Outside, the courtyard is still, save for the rustle of ivy, climbing and clinging to ancient walls. Each leaf shivers gently, as if listening to the hush of the night. Somewhere in the stable, a horse stamps softly, and the faint scent of hay lingers in the breeze. The rhythm of life never ceases, but it softens, it slows, as the world yields to slumber, and every sound becomes a hymn. For night is the keeper of secrets and the guardian of dreams. So let your breath fall steady, let your eyes grow heavy, for as the household rests, so too may you, cradled by the gentle hum of history, where time itself slows, and the heart beats like a lullaby. Imagine once more the quiet hush, the house now steeped in evening calm, the fires low, the lamps faint, their glow flickering upon the walls, casting gentle shadows that dance like soft memories. The master and mistress retire upstairs. Their footsteps creak upon the stairwell, the grand hallway echoing faintly, before silence claims the air again, a silence so deep it feels almost alive. Below in the servants' quarters, the housemaid sits a moment longer, her body weary from endless tasks, her hands roughened by soap and scrubbing, yet her heart steady with quiet pride. She thinks of the day gone by, the endless duties completed in order, the meals served, the rooms polished, the linens folded with careful touch. Each moment part of a rhythm she knows by heart. She remembers the morning chill, how she rose before the world awoke, her breath clouding in the dim kitchen as she coaxed the first embers to life. A ritual as constant as the turning of time. And she remembers the laughter of children, echoing through the long corridors, their joy fleeting yet bright, and how she kept them in her heart, like sunlight stored in a hidden jar. Night deepens outside the tall windows, Stars gleam softly in the velvet dark, and the distant hoot of an owl drifts near, reminding her of the wide countryside, quiet, eternal, and vast beyond the manor walls. At last she lies upon her narrow bed, her body sinking into the coarse mattress, her eyelids heavy, her breath slow, dreams beginning to stir at the edges as the world softens into silence once more. And so, dear listener, you too may rest, knowing that in this tale of simple days there is comfort in routine, peace in quiet labor, and gentle strength in a humble heart. The moon hung lower now, its silver light painting the desert in softer strokes, as though the sky itself grew tired and wished to rest beside the sands. The priests began to chant slower, their voices no longer sharp or commanding, but hushed like a lullaby, as if the ritual itself had turned inward, seeking peace within the heart. Incense burned low in the copper bowls, smoke curling like fading dreams, vanishing into the cool night air. The scent clung to the robes of the holy men, wrapping them in memory. A young scribe near the edge of the chamber dipped his reed in ink, his hands steady despite the late hour, for he knew that every word mattered, each stroke of his pen, a bridge across centuries. He wrote of the ritual with care, describing the hidden prayers, the secret gestures, the unspoken promises that only the moon and stars might ever read again. The priests moved in circles slower now, their feet tracing spirals on the stone floor, dust rising beneath their sandals like whispers of forgotten footsteps. Torches flickered lower, casting shadows that stretched like phantoms dancing upon the walls. Figures of gods and kings carved long ago seemed to stir in the wavering light. A hush fell so deep that the beating of the heart was louder than song. The night itself seemed to lean closer, listening to the breath of mortals and immortals alike. And then the high priest lifted his hands one final time, his fingers trembling, not with weakness but with reverence, as he spoke the last words of the night ritual, words so soft they could barely be heard, yet strong enough to echo in eternity. The people bowed their foreheads, touching cool stone. Their spirits eased, for they believed they had once again bound the fragile thread between earth and sky, between man and God, between sleep and awakening. As silence returned, a gentle breeze moved through the temple. No one knew if it was wind or the sigh of the gods themselves, but it carried peace like a cloak drawn over weary shoulders. The ritual had ended, yet the night held its memory like a secret carried in the stars. The night's hush lingered still, even as faint light began to creep over the horizon, soft fingers of dawn brushing the desert sands, turning gold to rose, and rose to pale lavender. Inside the temple, the last torches had burned low, casting one final glow upon the carved faces of gods, who seemed to watch over all with patient stillness, silent witnesses to the devotion and care of mortals. The young apprentices stirred gently, their bodies heavy from the night's quiet vigil, their minds filled with visions of sacred gestures, the slow rhythm of prayers, and the whispered chants that had guided the city through darkness. Outside, the city itself began to wake. Soft murmurs of life stirring from the homes of farmers, mothers preparing the morning bread, children rubbing sleep from their eyes and stepping into the warm glow of the early sun. Yet the memory of the night lingered, like a gentle song that continues after the singer has left. And those who had participated in the rituals felt a subtle peace in their hearts, a reminder that devotion, mindfulness, and care extend beyond the hours of wakefulness. In the pharaoh's chamber, the golden amulets lay still, gleaming faintly in the early light. The oils, scented with lotus and myrrh, had faded into the linens, leaving behind a quiet reminder that even unseen guardians work tirelessly to preserve harmony and protection. The guards returned from their silent patrols, feet soft upon the cool stone floors, their eyes weary yet satisfied, for they had witnessed the night unfold without disruption, without chaos. Even in stillness, their vigilance mattered, for it had kept balance in motion, a lesson that responsibility and care shape the world in subtle, unseen ways. And so, dear listener, as you picture this soft awakening, let the calm of the night mingle with the promise of the day. Let your breath slow and deepen, and allow the knowledge that peace can be carried within you, even after sleep and dreams have faded. The Egyptians understood this well, that each night, no matter how dark, was a chance to honor, to protect, to restore, and to teach, and that each morning brought the rewards of devotion, the serenity of balance, and the gentle wisdom that sleep itself imparts. The first rays of sunlight touched the temple stones, turning cool gray into warm honey, illuminating the intricate carvings and casting long, soft shadows across the chamber floors. The high priest rose slowly, his movements deliberate, measured, for the final duties of the night's ritual were complete, and now he offered quiet thanks to the gods, acknowledging their guidance through the hours of darkness. Apprentices followed, their eyes still heavy with sleep, yet their minds alight with lessons learned from hours of patient observation. From the rhythm of incense smoke curling, from the gentle flow of sacred chants. Outside, the city stirred more fully, the sound of footsteps, laughter, the clatter of pots and pans in distant kitchens, and the soft murmur of voices greeting the morning. Even in these ordinary tasks, the memory of the night's care lingered, like an invisible hand guiding each motion. In the pharaoh's chamber, golden amulets glimmered faintly, catching the first light as if to say, "Protection endures, even as darkness fades." Soft linens, still scented with myrrh and lotus, reminded all who slept that night of the quiet guardianship of unseen powers, and of the harmony that devotion, patience, and mindfulness bring. The night guards now rested, their duty fulfilled, their bodies heavy, but their spirits enriched by knowing they had upheld balance, that the fragile thread connecting mortals and gods had been tended with care. And so, dear listener, as you imagine this gentle awakening, feel your own body guided by the same rhythm. Let your breath flow calmly, your mind at ease, and carry the serenity of night into the promise of day. The Egyptians believed that every night held lessons, that the careful tending of rituals, prayers, and vigilance shaped not only sleep and dreams, but life itself. And as you rest now, know that these lessons are yours as well, that mindfulness, devotion, and care, even in the quietest moments, can bring harmony, protection, and peace. Let this thought cradle you, softly, gently, and, as the temple awakens with the sun, let your spirit awaken with calm, ready to carry the peace of night into every breath, every moment of your day. The city stirred fully now, baking in the gentle warmth of the rising sun, each street and alley slowly coming alive with the rhythm of daily life. Fishermen pushed their boats into the Nile, nets cast wide into the glimmering waters, while merchants opened stalls, arranging baskets of fresh fruits, grains, and pottery. their movements guided by the memory of the night's careful balance, the protection woven into every dream. Inside the temple, the high priest completed the final blessings, the incense now a faint trace in the air. Each symbol and gesture a quiet reminder that care, mindfulness, and devotion persist beyond the stillness of night. Apprentices watched attentively, their minds absorbing not only the ritual, but the lesson that small intentional acts have far-reaching impact, unseen but enduring. In the pharaoh's chamber, the first light revealed golden amulets gleaming gently, and linens still scented with lotus and myrrh. The pharaoh stirred from his slumber, eyes opening slowly, his mind refreshed by a night of carefully tended dreams. Each decision, each thought in the day ahead was quietly influenced by the night's protection, its guidance woven into the very fabric of his consciousness. Outside the homes of ordinary citizens, families rose, children yawned and stretched, mothers and fathers carried on with morning routines, all shaped subtly by the unseen rhythm of the night. The Egyptians believed that even those unaware of temple rituals were touched by them, their days shaped by the care invested in their sleep, a harmony invisible yet real. And so, dear listener, imagine yourself carrying the lessons of the night into your own day. The rhythm of mindfulness, protection, and devotion is not limited to temples or grand rituals. It exists in each careful gesture, each moment of attention, and each breath you take, quietly shaping your world and your mind. Feel the calm linger, the peace of the night softly extending into morning, and know that the guardianship of quiet intention remains with you. Even as light grows, sounds rise, and life unfolds once more. The Egyptians understood this truth, that care, devotion, and attention endure beyond the night, that every act of mindfulness touches more than the self, and that serenity, once cultivated, flows endlessly outward. The morning sun rose higher now, casting its golden warmth across the city, turning sandstone walls and clay rooftops into radiant patterns of light and shadow. Merchants called to one another, arranging their goods in neat rows, weaving a tapestry of color and motion, while the scent of fresh bread and spices drifted along the narrow streets, carrying a quiet promise of nourishment and comfort. Fishermen returned from the Nile with nets heavy, and children ran laughing through the alleyways, their carefree joy a reflection of dreams tended carefully through the night. Even the simplest life carried traces of the sacred vigilance that had protected them. Within the temple, the priests continued their duties, preparing offerings for the day, lighting incense that spiraled upwards, its fragrance mingling with the morning air. The apprentices moved deliberately, their minds still carrying the lessons of the night, that every small act of devotion, every whispered prayer or careful gesture, creates harmony unseen yet deeply felt. The pharaoh rose fully from his slumber, his eyes reflecting the soft light streaming through the chamber. Golden amulets gleamed faintly against his linens, and every detail of his preparation during the night ensured that his thoughts, actions, and decisions would be guided by clarity, wisdom, and protection. In homes across the city, families continued their morning routines, yet the energy of the night lingered, soft, subtle, and protective. The Egyptians believed that the care invested in dreams carried forward into the waking world, touching each person in ways both visible and unseen, a lesson in devotion, mindfulness, and continuity. And so, dear listener, imagine this flow of life, from the silent rituals of night to the bustling day, and feel within yourself the rhythm of balance. Your actions, no matter how small, can create a web of protection and harmony. Just as the priests and guardians of Egypt ensured the safety and clarity of every dream. Allow this understanding to guide your own thoughts, to remind you that vigilance, care, and intention extend beyond moments of quiet into every breath, every decision, and every movement of your day. Carry the serenity of the night with you, and let it ripple gently into your waking life. The city now moved fully in the warmth of morning, its people awake, their steps carrying purpose. Yet beneath every task and gesture lay the quiet echoes of the night's care. The merchants arranged their colorful wares, each basket of dates, figs, and grains a reflection of order and attention, reminding them that the small details shape not only commerce, but harmony itself. Fishermen mended their nets with practiced hands, their movements steady, mindful, each knot tied with the same care that had guided their ancestors through generations. Even the simplest labor, done with focus, was a reflection of devotion, a way to honor both the river and the gods. In the temple, the priests oversaw daily offerings, their chants now gentler, flowing like water, yet still carrying the wisdom of the night. Apprentices copied the sacred words, learning that intention and patience imbue every act with unseen meaning. The pharaoh walked through his chambers, mind sharpened by the restful night, thoughts guided by dreams carefully tended, decisions weighed with clarity and care. Golden amulets rested against his linen, symbols of protection that endured beyond sleep, reminding him that vigilance and mindfulness create lasting peace and stability. Outside, children played in sunlit courtyards, their laughter ringing like a soft bell, and mothers watched, their hearts calm because the night's rituals had safeguarded the city, ensuring that every dream was preserved, every slumber guided, every spirit shielded. And so, dear listener, let your own morning unfold with this same quiet mindfulness. Carry the lessons of night into your day. That care, intention, and devotion shape not only the world around you, but also the thoughts and dreams that guide your actions, even in ordinary moments, from the smallest task to the grandest decision. Remember that harmony is created through patience, attention, and quiet guardianship. And as you move through your day, let the serenity of the night linger within, a gentle reminder of the balance that guides both mortals and gods alike. The sun now climbed higher in the sky, its light spilling over rooftops and courtyards, painting walls with warmth and life, while the city thrummed with quiet energy. In the marketplace, merchants moved briskly, their hands arranging wares with careful precision, while buyers selected fruits, bread, and pottery, their eyes noticing small details that reflected care and intention. A subtle lesson from the night's rituals carried forward. The river flowed steadily, reflecting the golden sunlight, and fishermen worked in harmony with its rhythm, pulling nets, untangling lines, each action guided by skill and mindfulness. Even the gentle lapping of water against the boats seemed to echo the soft chants of the temple, a reminder that night and day are connected by constant flow and watchfulness. Within the temple, priests tended to the morning offerings, the fragrance of incense blending with sunlight, teaching apprentices the importance of balance, that vigilance and devotion do not end with night, but continue into every waking moment, shaping lives, dreams, and the world itself. The pharaoh moved through his chambers with calm determination, each decision guided by rest and reflection, his mind sharpened by the care given to dreams, his body strengthened by the protection woven through sleep. Golden amulets gleamed faintly in the light, symbols of unseen guardianship, reminding all that intention and mindfulness create lasting harmony and protection. Children played beneath the open sky, their laughter a joyful echo of the night's peace, while mothers and fathers observed with calm hearts, knowing that the careful tending of sleep and dreams the night before had nurtured clarity, wisdom, and safety for all. And so, dear listener, imagine your own life as a reflection of this city. Each act, no matter how small, carries significance. Each gesture infused with intention. Each breath a moment of devotion. Let the serenity of night extend into your day, guiding thoughts, actions, and interactions with the same gentle vigilance that protected the dreams of ancient Egypt. The Egyptians understood that harmony was not confined to a single moment or place, but flowed like a river through night and day, through sleep, ritual, and waking life alike. A reminder that care, mindfulness, and devotion shape not only dreams, but the reality that follows. The day waned slowly, the sunlight softening into golden amber, casting long shadows across the city streets, while the people moved with a gentler pace, their steps guided by the rhythm of labor completed, and the knowledge that night would soon return. In the temple, preparations began quietly. Priests arranging bowls of water and incense, touching each symbol with reverence, for the sacred night rituals were about to unfold once more. Apprentices moved carefully, remembering the lessons of the previous nights, that intention and mindfulness guide every act, and that even the smallest gesture carries weight unseen. Families returned from the fields, farmers wiping sweat from their brows, children laughing and chasing one another, their joy a reflection of safety and harmony that had been nurtured through the night. The scent of evening meals began to drift through open windows, soft bread baking, herbs simmering, reminding all of the comforts of home and the rhythm of care that continues from night into day. The high priest lit the first torches for the evening, casting flickering light across hieroglyphs carved long ago, symbols of gods, kings, and the cycles of life. The shadows danced on the walls like silent spirits, moving in harmony with the gentle chanting that echoed softly through the temple halls. Outside, the city slowed, children's laughter fading into quiet steps, and the Nile reflected the setting sun, turning the waters into molten gold, mirroring the peace that had been woven throughout the day by vigilance, devotion, and care. The pharaoh retired to his chambers, golden amulets resting nearby, linen still scented faintly with lotus and myrrh, a quiet reminder of the night's protective embrace. Every preparation, every careful action, ensured that sleep would be safe, dreams guided, and life balanced. And so, dear listener, imagine yourself now as evening settles and the city prepares for rest. Carry the lessons of the day, the mindfulness, the care, the attention, into your own night, letting them guide your breath, your thoughts, and your dreams, just as the Egyptians did. Let serenity and intention flow through your being, from day to night, from wakefulness to sleep, a seamless rhythm of harmony, protection, and peace. The sun now climbed higher in the sky, its light spilling over rooftops and courtyards, painting walls with warmth and life, while the city thrummed with quiet energy. In the marketplace, merchants moved briskly, their hands arranging wares with careful precision, while buyers selected fruits, bread, and pottery, their eyes noticing small details that reflected care and intention. A subtle lesson from the night's rituals carried forward. The river flowed steadily, reflecting the golden sunlight, and fishermen worked in harmony with its rhythm, pulling nets, untangling lines, each action guided by skill and mindfulness. Even the gentle lapping of water against the boats seemed to echo the soft chants of the temple, a reminder that night and day are connected by constant flow and watchfulness. Within the temple, priests tended to the morning offerings, the fragrance of incense blending with sunlight, teaching apprentices the importance of balance, that vigilance and devotion do not end with night, but continue into every waking moment, shaping lives, dreams, and the world itself. The pharaoh moved through his chambers with calm determination, each decision guided by rest and reflection, his mind sharpened by the care given to dreams, his body strengthened by the protection woven through sleep. Golden amulets gleamed faintly in the light, symbols of unseen guardianship, reminding all that intention and mindfulness create lasting harmony and protection. Children played beneath the open sky, their laughter a joyful echo of the night's peace, while mothers and fathers observed with calm hearts, knowing that the careful tending of sleep and dreams the night before had nurtured clarity, wisdom, and safety for all. And so, dear listener, imagine your own life as a reflection of this city. Each act, no matter how small, carries significance. Each gesture infused with intention. Each breath a moment of devotion. Let the serenity of night extend into your day, guiding thoughts, actions, and interactions with the same gentle vigilance that protected the dreams of ancient Egypt. The Egyptians understood that harmony was not confined to a single moment or place, but flowed like a river through night and day, through sleep, ritual, and waking life alike. A reminder that care, mindfulness, and devotion shape not only dreams, but the reality that follows. The day waned slowly, the sunlight softening into golden amber, casting long shadows across the city streets, while the people moved with a gentler pace, their steps guided by the rhythm of labor completed, and the knowledge that night would soon return. In the temple, preparations began quietly, priests arranging bowls of water and incense, touching each symbol with reverence, for the sacred night rituals were about to unfold once more. Apprentices moved carefully, remembering the lessons of the previous nights, that intention and mindfulness guide every act, and that even the smallest gesture carries weight unseen. Families returned from the fields, farmers wiping sweat from their brows, children laughing and chasing one another, their joy a reflection of safety and harmony that had been nurtured through the night. The scent of evening meals began to drift through open windows, soft bread baking, herbs simmering, reminding all of the comforts of home and the rhythm of care that continues from night into day. The high priest lit the first torches for the evening, casting flickering light across hieroglyphs carved long ago, symbols of gods, kings, and the cycles of life. The shadows danced on the walls like silent spirits, moving in harmony with the gentle chanting that echoed softly through the temple halls. Outside, the city slowed, children's laughter fading into quiet steps, and the Nile reflected the setting sun, turning the waters into molten gold, mirroring the peace that had been woven throughout the day by vigilance, devotion, and care. The pharaoh retired to his chambers, golden amulets resting nearby, linen still scented faintly with lotus and myrrh, a quiet reminder of the night's protective embrace. Every preparation, every careful action, ensured that sleep would be safe, dreams guided, and life balanced. And so, dear listener, imagine yourself now as evening settles and the city prepares for rest. Carry the lessons of the day, the mindfulness, the care, the attention, into your own night, letting them guide your breath, your thoughts, and your dreams, just as the Egyptians did. Let serenity and intention flow through your being, from day to night, from wakefulness to sleep, a seamless rhythm of harmony, protection, and peace. The evening deepened, and the city now lay in a soft, golden haze, its streets quieting, homes glowing faintly from within, as the people prepared for the night to come. Within the temple, the high priest moved with deliberate care, lighting torches and incense, arranging vessels of water and sacred oils, each motion a prayer, each gesture a shield for the dreams of the city, the pharaoh, and all who slept beneath the Egyptian sky. Apprentices followed silently, their eyes reflecting torchlight, their minds absorbing every movement, every whispered chant. They learned that rituals were not mere repetition, but lessons in patience, mindfulness, and devotion, that even the smallest action could ripple through life unseen, bringing protection, clarity, and harmony. Outside, families settled into their homes, children rubbing sleep from their eyes and yawning gently, while mothers and fathers completed evening chores, softly speaking words of comfort that carried the calm of the night into the hearts of all. Even the simple acts of folding linen, preparing bread, or smoothing a child's hair were part of the sacred rhythm that guided life and dreams alike. The high priest approached the inner altar, sprinkling water infused with lotus petals, his fingers trembling with reverence, his voice carrying the soft, final chants of protection. Every syllable, every breath was intended to guard, to nurture, to bless, ensuring that slumber would be safe and dreams insightful. The pharaoh, resting in his chamber, was surrounded by golden amulets and scented linens, symbols of a night carefully tended. Sleep carried him into visions of wisdom and guidance, for in dreams lay answers to questions unspoken during waking hours, and clarity born from rest and devotion. And so, dear listener, as you picture these final moments, let the quiet of night envelop you. Feel the peace that comes from mindfulness, from care and intention, and let your breath slow. Let your body sink deeper into comfort. Let your spirit float freely, wrapped in protection. The Egyptians understood this truth, that every night is an opportunity for guidance, for serenity, for learning. And as darkness surrounds you, know that these lessons of patience, devotion, and vigilance flow into your dreams, creating harmony within and without, a timeless rhythm that carries both night and day. The night had settled fully, and the city lay in a gentle, protective silence. Stars sparkled faintly above the Nile, casting silver reflections across the water, while the desert winds whispered softly through the palm trees. Inside the temple, the high priest completed the final prayers, his hands raised in blessing, his voice low and steady, carrying words that would linger in the air and in the hearts of all who slept. Apprentices watched with awe, their minds and spirits enriched by the lessons of devotion, patience, and mindfulness. They understood that each action, each whispered prayer, rippled beyond the temple walls, touching every life in the city, from the pharaoh to the smallest child. The pharaoh slept soundly, golden amulets resting nearby, linens scented with lotus and myrrh enveloping him in protection. Dreams flowed freely, carrying guidance, clarity, and wisdom, for the night had been carefully tended, every moment infused with intention and care. Outside, families slumbered peacefully, the soft rise and fall of their breathing a gentle echo of the rhythm of the night. Even the smallest creatures seemed to rest in harmony, protected by the balance that had been woven through rituals, vigilance, and love. And so, dear listener, as you imagine this serene city beneath the stars, let your own body sink deeper into comfort. Let your mind release all tension and allow your spirit to drift freely into dreams of peace and safety. Remember the lessons of the ancient Egyptians, that care, devotion, and mindfulness can create harmony in both waking life and sleep, that even the smallest acts have power, and that serenity flows outward, touching all it encounters. Breathe slowly. Feel the gentle rhythm of protection surrounding you, and let sleep carry you softly, peacefully, into the quiet, endless embrace of night. Good night, dear listener, and may your dreams be calm, guided, and full of light.